All right, this is the hierarchy app, which is useful for constructing hierarchies for exposures. It comes preloaded with an example of a social anxiety exposure. So you might use this to explain to the patient how we construct hierarchies and where we want to operate. Here, the gray area is between 70 and 80, which is generally where I like to start with an exposure. And so you might explain to them that things that are really difficult might be saved for a later session. Things that are really easy or moderately difficult might be a good starting point or something that they could try on their own. But that we really want to kind of hone in on this area and see if we can see some nice extinction. And so once you go through the example, you can obviously modify the items and the ratings. And say you want to focus on a small talk exposure, you might start updating some of these things to really hone in on which aspects of a small talk exposure contribute to the level of difficulty. And so you might say, okay, what if it's small talk with a therapist? And that's somebody that you know and they're in on the activity, so that might be, like a 40. What about small talk with an assistant? Also somebody that is in on it, but not as familiar. And so that might be a little bit more difficult. Small talk with a cashier might start getting into that 75 range. And you might make a distinction between male stranger, small talk with a female stranger, and see whether the sex of the person they're having a conversation with affects their rating. As with all the apps, you can right-click on the plot to save the image, either for your records or to share with them.